he whispered. "Oh, I mean, sir, that I'm just an ordinary, ignorant country girl, and you are further above me than the moon from the sea. I couldn't expect you to love me, sir. I couldn't even dream of your loving me. But I do think you might like me just a little bit with your heart." "What?" flushed the senior surgeon. "What?" Wickety bang against the window pane sounded the little crippled girl's knuckled fists. Darkly against the window pane squashed the little crippled girl's staring face. "Father!" screamed the shrill voice. "Father, there's a white lady here with two black ladies washing the breakfast dishes. Is it Aunt Agnes?" With a totally unexpected laugh, with a totally unexpected desire to laugh, the senior surgeon strode across the room and unlocked his door. Even then his lips against the white linen nurse's ear made just a whisper, not a kiss. "God bless you. Hurry," he said, "and let's get out of here before any telephone message catches me." Then almost calmly he walked out on the piazza and greeted his sister-in-law. "Hello, Agnes," he said. "Hello yourself," smiled his sister-in-law. "How's everything?" he inquired politely. "How's everything with you?" parried his sister-in-law. Idly for a few moments the senior surgeon threw out stray crumbs of thought to feed the conversation, while smilingly all the while from her luxuriant East Indian chair his sister-in-law sat studying the general situation. The senior surgeon's sister-in-law was always studying something. Last year it was archaeology, the year before basketry. This year it happened to be eugenics, or something funny like that. Next year again it might be bookbinding. "So you and your pink and white shepherdess are going off on a little trip together?" she queried banteringly. "The girl's a darling, Lindicott. I haven't had as much sport in a long time as I had that afternoon last June, when I came in my best calling clothes and helped her paint the kitchen woodwork. And I had come prepared to be a bit nasty, Lindicott. In all honesty, Lindicott, I might just as well fess up that I had come prepared to be just a little bit nasty." "She seems to have a way," smiled the senior surgeon. "She seems to have a way of disarming people's unpleasant intentions." A trifle quizzically, for an instant, the woman turned her face to the senior surgeon's. It was a worldly face, a cold-featured, absolutely worldly face, with a surprisingly humorous mouth that warmed her nature just about as cheerfully and just about as effectually as one open fireplace warms a whole house. Nevertheless, one often achieved much comfort by keeping close to Aunt Agnes's humorous mouth, for Aunt Agnes knew a thing or two. Aunt Agnes did, and the things that she made a point of knowing were conscientiously amiable. "Why, Lindicott Faber," she rallied him now. "Why, you're as nervous as a schoolboy. Why, I believe that you're going courting." More opportunely than any man could have dared to hope, the white linen nurse appeared suddenly on the scene in her little blue serge wedding suit, with her travelling case in her hand. With a gasp of relief the senior surgeon took her case and his own and went on down the path to his car, and his chauffeur leaving the two women temporarily alone. When he returned to the piazza, the woman of the world and the girl not at all of the world were bidding each other a really affectionate good-bye, and the woman's face looked suddenly just a little bit old, but the girl's cheeks were most inordinately blooming. In unmistakable friendliness, his sister-in-law extended her hand to him. "Good-bye, Lindicott, old man," she said, "and good luck to you." A little slyly out of her shrewd gray eyes she glanced up sideways at him. "You've got the devil's own temper, Lindicott dear," she teased, "and two or three other vices probably, and if rumour speaks the truth, you've run amuck more than once in your life. But there's one thing I will say for you, though it prove you a dear stupid, you never were over quick to suspect that any woman could possibly be in love with you." "To what woman do you particularly refer?" mocked the senior surgeon impatiently. Quite brazenly, to her own heart, which never yet apparently had stirred the laces that enshrined it, his sister-in-law pointed with persistent banter. "Maybe I refer to myself," she laughed, "and maybe to the only other lady present." "Oh!" gasped the white linen nurse. "You do me much honour, Agnes," bowed the senior surgeon. Quite resolutely he held his gaze from following the white linen nurse's quickly averted face. A little oddly for an instant the older woman's glance hung on his. "More honour, perhaps, than you think, Lendicott Faber," she said, and kept right on smiling. "Eh?" jerked the senior surgeon. Restively he turned to the white linen nurse. Very flushingly on the steps, the white linen nurse knelt arguing with the little crippled girl. "Your father and I are going away," she pleaded. "Won't you please kiss us good-bye?" "I've only got one kiss," sulked the little crippled girl. "Give it to your father," pleaded the white linen nurse. Amazingly, all in a second, the ugliness vanished from the little face. Dartingly, like a bird, the child swooped down and planted one large round kiss on the senior surgeon's astonished boot. "Beautiful father!" she cried. "I kiss your feet!" Abruptly the senior surgeon plunged from the step and started down the walk. His cheekbones were quite crimson. 2 or 3 rods behind him the white linen nurse followed falteringly. Once she stopped to pick up a tiny stick or a stone, and once she dallied to straighten out a snarled spray of red and brown woodbine. Missing the sound or the shadow of her, the senior surgeon turned suddenly to wait. So startled was she by his intentness, so flustered, so frightened, that just for an instant the senior surgeon thought that she was going to wheel in her tracks and bolt madly back to the house. Then, quite unexpectedly, she gave an odd muffled little cry and ran swiftly to him like a child, and slipped her bare hand trustingly into his, and they went on together to the car. With his foot already half lifted to the step, the senior surgeon turned abruptly round, and lifted his hat, and stood staring back bareheaded for some unexplainable reason at the 2 silent figures on the piazza. "Ray," he said perplexedly. "Ray, I don't seem to know just why, but somehow I'd like to have you kiss your hand to Aunt Agnes." Obediently, the white linen nurse withdrew her fingers from his and wafted 2 kisses, one to Aunt Agnes and one to the little crippled girl. Then the white linen nurse and the senior surgeon climbed up into the tonneau of the car where they had never sat alone before, and the senior surgeon gave a curt order to his man, and the big car started off again into interminable spaces. Mutely, without a word, without a glance passing between them, the senior surgeon held out his hand to her once more, as though the absence of her hand in his was suddenly a lonesomeness not to be endured again while life lasted. Whiz, whiz, whiz. Whirr, 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 the ribbony road began to roll up again on that hidden spool under the car. When the chauffeur's mind seemed sufficiently absorbed in speed and sound, the senior surgeon bent down a little mockingly and mumbled his lips inarticulately at the white linen nurse. "See," he laughed, "I've got a text, too, to keep my courage up. Of course you look like an angel." He teased closer and closer to her flaming face. "But all the time to myself, to reassure myself, I just keep saying, 'Bah, she's nothing but a woman, nothing but a woman, nothing but a woman.'" Within the senior surgeon's warm, firm grasp, the white linen nurse's calm hand quickened suddenly, like a bud forced precipitously into full bloom. "Oh, don't talk, sir," she whispered. "Oh, don't talk, sir. Just listen." "Listen? Listen to what?" laughed the senior surgeon. From under the heavy lashes that shadowed the flaming cheeks, the soul of the girl who was to be his peered up at the soul of the man who was to be hers, and saluted what she saw. "Oh,